And then we'll talk some high school basketball. Then Willie Spears is going to be joining us at 4:40. He's going to be calling from Phoenix, Arizona. And we'll just talk to, I just kind of want to learn about him. I've seen so much and heard so much. He was actually, he actually was on First Take one time debating Stephen A. Smith.
Right on.
Not like in the studio, but there's a video. You can go to williespears.com, check out the video there. That was very interesting. Get excited. It is time for an experience. Now on the line with us, critically acclaimed author, highly sought after speaker, educator, and coach. You can experience the Willie Spears experience by calling Crystal 405-370-9355. Coach Spears, thanks so much for giving us some of your time this afternoon all the way there from Arizona. I wanted to ask you, how did you get into motivational speaking?
Thank you so much for having me on. But when you coach, you're always giving motivational talks to your team. You know, you're motivating them to practice, motivating them to fundraise, motivating them to behave in school. And so the motivation has always been in me. And then out of the blue, I started getting calls to come motivate different groups. It started with teams, and then it went to education, then corporate, and even some churches. And so that kind of started it. And then as a head coach, I've been a head coach of 7 different high schools, I started running into some difficulties with principals and superintendents. And I was thinking to myself, you know what? How about I work for myself for a little while and try something different? It was very scary, a huge leap of faith. But 3 years ago, I decided to go full speed and full time into public speaking. And so that's kind of how I got my start. And it's been great, man. Last year, we hit 27 states. This week, we hit 2 states that we didn't get last year. We're in Arizona now. We were in West Virginia earlier this week. And it's been great. We do about 25 presentations a month and about 10 to 12 states. So it's been a blessing.
So, Coach, what is your favorite part of serving in motivational speaking?
Just the feedback. A teacher just came to me and said, I'm 71 years old. I have ADHD. I wasn't diagnosed till a few years ago, and no one ever is able to keep my attention, and you were able to keep my attention for 2.5 hours. So we just did a 2.5-hour professional development presentation that felt like 30 minutes. And so that made me feel good. Then a young man came to me today, and I spoke to him twice because he was in what they call a trouble group, a group that had a lot of referrals. And he shook my head and said, thank you so much for coming today. I never thought about it that way, and I'm going to change some things in my life. And so just the feedback and the opportunity to add value to people's lives, just realizing how powerful words are, it's been truly cool.
That is really cool, Coach. If there was one point that you wanted to get across to youth athletes today, what would that one point be?
I would say don't let anyone outwork you. You know, I think I heard Steve Kerr say this to a former #1 draft pick, that when he saw his workout, he said he wouldn't draft him no matter how talented he was because he didn't know how to work hard. So I think it's natural for us to be lazy. And when you're a high school athlete, it's important that you don't let anyone outwork you. There's so much that you can get out of putting extra in. And so if you're not the first one to practice and the last one to leave, if you're not working when no one else is working, then you're going to always be average. So my advice to any athlete out there is put the video game down, get off TikTok, put your cell phone down, and outwork people. Lift more, run more, practice more, and study your craft.
Coach, FCA is a big thing around this area. I wanted to ask you, what does FCA mean to you?
FCA changed my life. I grew up in the church, and church is awesome. I love church, but church does not happen in real life. In other words, it happens on Wednesday nights and Sundays. FCA was in my real life. It was right there at Rutherford High School, and a guy named Kirk Harrell, who ended up being the county AD, he was a huge advocate for FCA. And what he did for me was show me that I could be a Christian that was a coach. And what that meant was I could serve God and honor him in the way that I coached. And I had never thought about that before. So Coach Harrell was a great example for me. And then I've been able to be a huddle coach in several FCA schools around the country. And then last year I did 54 FCA presentations in several schools all around, including Fields of Faith, including Course of Faith, and summer camps. And so I think FCA is amazing. If there's someone listening, you have an FCA at your school, stop by. Number one, because they usually have free donuts and Chick-fil-A biscuits. But number two, to hear some positive messages while you're in school.
Right on. Just to look back at your life and your career, who is your favorite athlete of all time?
I love Deion Sanders. I know it's Coach Prime now. It's a little different now. But when he was an athlete, man, he was unbelievable. I had his jersey. I had his trading card. I had the magazines he was on. I was a big Deion fan. And also Charlie Ward, who's become a friend of mine, ironically, and then Bo Jackson. I love those two sports stars.
Oh, man, that's great answers. Great answers. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida. We're on the line with Coach Willie Spears right now. I watched that 10-minute video that you have on williespears.com. You went toe-to-toe with Stephen A. Smith on First Take with your take. What was that experience like?
When I did that with Stephen A., I was so nervous. People always say, I can't tell you were nervous. My entire shirt was soaking wet with sweat when that was over. Stephen A. gave me the greatest compliment. He asked me what did I do for a living. Of course, at the time, I was a teacher and a coach. And he said, well, man, keep teaching. We need good teachers. He said, but if you want to do this, you can do this. He said, I'm just going to tell you that you held your own. And then Molly, in the background, I was on speakerphone, Molly said, he beat you, Stephen A. He beat you, Stephen A. He said, Molly, nobody's talking to you. Nobody's talking to you.
Coach, you've got a new devotional, a new book out that's a daily devotional. So I want to preface that question with this question. What is your favorite pair of shoes? And if one isn't enough, give me your top three.
Yeah, so I don't know about you guys, but I'm not perfect. And one of my flaws is I have too many shoes. But the book is called Soul Searching. Thank you so much for that plug. You can get it on Amazon, Soul, spelled S-O-L-E. We asked over 50 authors to write about their favorite Bible verse and their favorite shoe. My favorite shoe is the Jordan 11, the black and red pattern leather Jordan. When I went to Rutherford High School, I went to the prom in those shoes when they first came out.
Oh, yeah, that is a classic, Coach. I'm an 11 guy myself. I've got some snakeskin sitting at the house.
That's a flex right there. Did you hear that? That was a flex. I'm just letting you know his shoe game is on another level, baby. A true sneakerhead.
Coach, we appreciate your time. It was really awesome getting to know a little bit more about you. I see your stuff on social media all the time, and I'm like, man, if we could, I would just love to be able to talk with him for 5 minutes, and you gave us 10 of them all the way from Arizona. Coach Spears, thank you so much for your time, and just keep up the phenomenal work.
Well, man, thank y'all for what y'all do. Y'all make sports in Bay County really exciting, and then y'all cover the whole Southeast and the whole country. So keep up the good work, man. Remember, we're all on the same team trying to add value to other people's lives. Thank y'all so much.
Oh, that is awesome. What a way to leave it.
Thank you.
Is it? We're all on the same team, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, trying to add value to other people's lives, and sometimes you do that without even without knowing that you're doing that. That was a real privilege right there to talk with Coach Willie Spears. And again, you can go to williespears.com. You can check out that video of him debating with Stephen A. Smith. It's about 9 minutes and 14. I guess you can't say about if you're going to go exact on him. Somewhere around 9.5 minutes. Really fun stuff to listen to that. And then also he's got a number of books on there, devotionals, and then you can also contact him and get set up to have him come speak at your event. You can also call Crystal 405-370-9355. Coach Willie Spears, man, and the fact that he is literally at an event right now that runs from 9 to 6 over there in Arizona. So he took time, out of his day, just like all of our other guests do, and we're really appreciative of that as we're about 8 minutes away from getting over there to Derek Tate, talking some NFL championship games. Man, that's good. Oh, I'm so excited.